Talk to me now. Take me into the future a little bit. 5 or 10 years from now, what are we going to be saying have been sort of the most dynamic elements of the marketplace?
The next big thing is connected autonomous vehicles. It will change how travelers behave.
Yep. Welcome to episode 1 of Inside Steer, Conversations with Experts, the series where we're going to meet some of the people shaping Steer's work across North America. I'm Herb Higginbotham, Executive President of Steer North America. If you're new to us, we're a global consultancy that supports the organizations that provide the critical services and infrastructure that move our communities and shape our world. With me today is Dave Cuneo. He's our Senior Vice President leading traffic and revenue forecasting here at Steer North America. And we're going to talk today a little bit about how Dave got involved in the market, what his outlook is for tolling and revenue going forward in North America in light of a lot of rapidly evolving circumstances. Hi, Dave. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Herb?
I'm doing just fine. Talk to me now. Take me into the future a little bit. 5 or 10 years from now, what are we going to be saying have been sort of the most dynamic elements of the marketplace?
Sort of the next big thing is connected autonomous vehicles. It will change how travelers behave. Just with the ease of travel, when they're completely autonomous driving, people could live further from work. So overall travel could increase. You might have, people who aren't able to drive today, the old, the young, you could have cabs driving them for what their trip requires. And so overall, there could be more activity that happens. These cabs also could better utilize the capacity that we do have available. So maybe over time, there's a lessening need to keep expanding and building more capacity because the technology will allow for greater throughput. This will change, maybe not in the next 5 years, but over a longer period, it'll change how people travel and sort of what the roads look like.
You talked in there, Dave, a little bit about how maybe throughput and capacity increases, and at the same time, I heard in there too some message, demand potentially increases too. Like we talk a lot about, in our field about, value of time, being a key factor. Does my value of time, I imagine it fundamentally changes if I'm watching a movie and, just kicked back, right? Versus I'm actively moving the vehicle. Maybe congestion becomes less concerning to me. Is that some of the things that you all sort of think about when you think about CAV?
Yeah, we do. That's part of it. There's sort of the value of time and willingness to pay for travel time savings. So there's one, how can you spend the time while you're in the vehicle? If it's an autonomous vehicle, maybe you can do some other uses. And so the value of saving time is maybe a little less than it would be otherwise. But there's no getting around the fact that us as people are what we are, and there will always be those urgent trips, no matter whether you're able to use the time productively or not. And then there's cases where if you don't have a completely autonomous vehicle, but your vehicle does have some levels of autonomy, some of the lower levels of autonomy, there is technology if that can be added along certain roads that would allow your vehicle to operate more autonomously. And so there may be, you can use your time for something else. So your value of time might go down, but the value of this added technology and the value of the autonomy that's being offered to you could go up and offset that or even increase. And so that these are some of the dynamics that we think about when analyzing what that future might look like.
Let's maybe zoom out a little bit and just, as you look and think of the market at large, you've been at this for a while. In the last 5 or 10 years, what have been some of the key things that you've sort of seen evolve from the beginning of your career to maybe the more recent past?
About the market, Yeah, we've talked a little bit about express lanes and managed lanes, and um, that's where I think there's been a fair amount of development. It's around 10 years ago that the first ones, uh, other than privately developed and operated ones, were being built and about to be operated. Before that time, there was some uncertainty about you know how travelers would be willing to pay for those benefits. It hadn't been proven yet. So there was some skepticism that the travelers would recognize all those benefits. As we've continued to work on that, we see a growing trend where the performance, the traffic and revenue performance, continues to get stronger and stronger as travelers, do see and recognize all the benefits that these express lane projects are providing to them. On the side of sort of what's made our job different, and this is now looking specifically at the modeling and forecasting work that we do, is just the growth of the big data sets and how we're able to use that data to develop and calibrate our forecasting models. Back in the day, I was out in the field counting cars, with clickers, whether now with big data, we could get years worth of information on what the travel times are and look at the variability in those travel times. And so there's a lot more information that's available to us that allow us to make the models more sophisticated. So that's been exciting.
Well, there's clearly still a evolving range of problems to solve for. Is that after doing this for so long, is that what sort of really get you up every day to go back at again? Or what are some of the other factors that really sort of keep you at it and keep you sort of innovating and motivating yourself?
For me, just being involved in projects that improve transportation mobility for locations all across the country, that's excited me for some time. Knowing that I get to work on projects that result in real tangible infrastructure that gets built shortly after is exciting.
Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you even get into tolling and revenue forecasting?
When I graduated with a civil engineering degree, I through all the coursework, determined that transportation, as opposed to structural or environmental, was the area I wanted to focus most in. And I got a job with a large AE firm doing transportation planning. There, I quickly became focused on doing network modeling, and forecasting and analysis. I decided to go back to school to get a master's in transportation and studying at MIT, located in Boston. After graduating, despite previously having focused pretty exclusively on surface transportation, I went to work for an airline, got involved in their yield management group. I later then moved back to Boston to work for applied economics consulting firm, uh, where I got to focus on pretty much all modes of transportation. One of the projects that we did at that economics consultant firm was a traffic and revenue study for toll facilities in New Jersey. And on that one, we teamed with Steer. We got to work side by side and sort of saw the good cultural fit of Steer and the team that we had at the other consulting firm. And that led to, a group of us coming over to Steer in 2009 and sort of forming the starting group for Steer in the U.S. Since that time, I continue to focus a lot on toll facilities, and I've led the traffic and revenue forecasting team to helping grow Steer in North America. I continue to be one of the leaders of the infrastructure team. I've been involved in almost all of the traffic and revenue forecasting projects that we've performed in North America over the last 15 years.
So let's talk about projects maybe a little bit, because I know you've been involved in a lot of really high attention projects over your career.
I guess one the sort of the biggest one I maybe would highlight was outside DC in Northern Virginia, the I-66 outside the Beltway Express Lanes project. And this is one where we supported the winning bidder, who altogether the project was some close to $4 billion investment. And the client we worked with, they were operating the other express lane projects in Texas, and we worked with them there and got to learn a bit more of actually how travelers were responding to having express lanes, what they found valuable and so forth. And we were able to leverage that and apply it to this project in Northern Virginia as we were doing our traffic and revenue forecasting. And they put together a successful bid where they were not only going to build these 20 plus miles of express lanes, but they also were giving a payment to Virginia, to VDOT, whereas the competition was asking for a subsidy. So they, on the foundation of the forecasting work that we conducted, they were able to put together a quite attractive bid that was good for them and good for the state of Virginia. It's provided, what it was promised to do. Large investment, but our client is seeing the return that they looked for, and the state of Virginia won both by getting the infrastructure built and also getting the payment from the private sector. So it's been a big success all around.
Dave, I really appreciate your time and insights today. It's clear there's a long sort of history that we've come and tollways and managed lanes, and it sounds like there's the next decade or two we'll see even more for us to be focused on.
Yeah,
thanks for your time.
It's an exciting time. Thanks, sir.
Nice. Thanks, everyone, for joining. This was our first episode of Inside Steer, Conversations with Experts. Thanks for joining Dave and myself, and see you again soon. Take care.